Hello and welcome to Mr. Connally's Math. Today we're going to be talking about finding slope. Before we go any further though, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to get information about future videos. Guidelines for using this video effectively are: watch and listen to the video. Sound should be on. Do not skip ahead. Do not just mindlessly copy the work. Pause the video when you need time to write or think. Put a question mark next to problems you don't understand. Rewatch and listen to the video when needed. And ask questions in class or in the comments below. All right, key concepts. How do you find the slope of a linear equation? Okay, I've got a straight line. We know slope is the rise over the run, the ratio of those two numbers. The rise can be thought of as the vertical change, and the run can be thought of as the horizontal change, going from left to right. We can use this equation, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 over x1. Those x's and y's represents 2 points on the line. So if you know 2 points, you can find the slope pretty easily. All right, so this one has a slope of up 3 and over 3. This is a slope of 1. This is a positive number, so it's a positive slope. This slope goes down from left to right. So it goes down 4 and then right 3, so it has a slope of negative 4 over 3. This is called a negative slope. Notice that the slope is a negative number. It's easy to understand. Now, what if it's a horizontal line? That's called a zero slope, and if it goes straight up and down, it's called an undefined slope. There's 3 different ways to write an equation that we'll be talking about today. One is the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope in that equation, and b is the y-intercept. And then point-slope form, which has y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1, n quantity. This one, the m is the slope right here, and the y1 and y2 represent the coordinates of the point. Lastly, we've got standard form. This one is ax plus by equals c. This one doesn't have the slope in it. You can actually find it though by solving for y and making this into slope-intercept form like you see over here. Now notice the slope in this case is capital A divided, or the opposite of capital A divided by capital B. Okay, now if you know the A and the B, then you can find the slope by making it a ratio and making it negative, or the opposite. Okay? All right, let's get started. Finding slope from points. What is the slope of the line that goes through the points negative 4, 2 and 8, 5? Okay, if I were to graph those, they would look something like this. I want to find the slope. So the slope is the ratio of the rise, over the run, how far it goes over. Okay, so I'm going vertically up and horizontally to the right. So we can find these numbers by just counting. If I had a graph, I could just count 1, 2, 3. Oh, I went 3 up. So the rise must be 3, or the vertical change. The horizontal change goes from negative 4 over here all the way to positive 8. How far would I jump if I do that? Okay, now I could just jump, I could count the jumps on a graph, which works great if the numbers are integers. But sometimes the coordinates or the points are fractions or other rational numbers. Okay, so how can we find this? We can use the slope formula that we talked about. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x sub 1. Okay, these are not exponents. These don't change anything to the number. They're just descriptive. They just tell you which one we're talking about. Because notice if I put xy and xy here, there's 2 x's and 2 y's. Which one is which? I'll call this group 1, and this will be group 2. Okay, so I'm going to do this by doing m equals y2 I said was 5 minus 2. And I'm going to divide that by 8 minus negative 4. 8 minus negative 4. Okay, so 5 minus 2 we know is 3, because that's 1, 2, 3, and that makes sense because we already counted it. Now what about 8 to negative 4? If I subtract those, that's the same as adding the opposite, which makes this 12. So I actually had a run of 4 here. That makes sense because here's 4 and this distance is 8, so 8 plus 4 would be 12. It does become 3 over 12. Okay, let's simplify this a little bit. These both divide by 3, and my answer is 1/4. So the slope of this is 1/4. And if you notice, that's saying I go up 1 and over 4, up 1 and over 4, up 1 and over 4. And look at that. Each time I do that, I end up being on the line. That's how the slope helps you find the graph. Okay? All right. Let's pause if you need more time. Let's go on to the next. Finding slope from a table. What is the slope of the linear relationship shown in the table, this table of values? Okay, so again, we've got 2 points. We've got -2 and 11, 2 and 3. If I just take the difference of these two groups, then I'll get the answer. So I can say 3 minus 11 divided by 2 minus -2. Okay, so how far is it from 11 down to 3? That means we just subtracted 8. And what do you know? 3 minus 11 is -8. What about if I jump from -2 up to 2? That means I'm going to be +4. Okay, so that must mean that -8 over 4 is our slope. That reduces, we can always divide it by 4, and that reduces to -2, and 4 over 4 is 1. So the slope is -2 over 1, or you could just say -2. Now, I'll prove to you that this is right because I could also use these 2 points to find the answer. I could say -1 minus 3 and 4 minus 2. Okay, so how far is it from 2 to 4? That's the same as +2. And how far is it from 3 to -1? That's going to be down 4. So the answer is -4 over 2. And what do you know? That also reduces to -2 over 1. They're the same, and that's what they should be. These are all points on the same line, so they all have the same slope, which is -2 over 1. Okay, so either one of those would have worked. Okay, so how do we find the slope from a table of values? We subtract the y's from the y's and divide it by the x's from the x's. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. What is the slope of the line represented by this equation? Okay, so we want to find the slope of -4x plus 8y equals 16. Remember, this is standard form, and we want to convert it into slope-intercept form like I mentioned earlier so that we can find the slope, because the slope in this equation is the opposite of a over b. Okay, so that's because we just subtracted ax from both sides. We get by equals -a to the x plus c, and divide it by b, and we get -a over b is our slope. Okay, so that would mean -4 over 8 is our slope. Here's why that's the case. So let's go ahead and add 4x to both sides. You can't add those together, so it's going to be 4x plus 16 equals 8y. Now we just divide by 8 to everything, and we get y equals 4/8 x plus 2. Okay, so the slope is going to be 4/8, which we know can simplify by dividing it by 4 to 1/2. So the slope in this case is 1/2. All right, let's look at B. This one's a little bit easier. What is the slope of the line represented by the equation? F of x equals -3x plus 7. Okay, this is actually slope-intercept form. F of x is the same as y. You can write either one. They're interchangeable. F of x is just function form. Y is graphing form. So we've got slope-intercept form in this case. Y equals mx plus b. So that means that this number is our slope. And for C, what is the slope of the line represented by the equation y minus 3 equals negative 5 times x plus 7? This is point slope form. And remember, in point slope form, the m, or the slope, is the number right in front there. So in this case, it's negative 5. So that is the slope. Okay, go ahead and pause to finish those up. All right, so in summary, how do you find the slope of a linear equation? We know that slope is the rise of the run or the vertical change over the horizontal change. We can use the slope equation to find the slope numerically. Also, on a graph, we can just count the rise over run from one point to the other. In this case, it's 1. It's a positive slope. Negative slopes have a negative m value, and they go down from left to right. Horizontal lines have a 0 slope, and vertical lines have an undefined slope. Finally, there's 3 forms for us to use: slope-intercept form, point slope form, and standard form. Okay, make sure you have these down in your notes. Are you all done? Good job. Keep working hard. I'm very proud of the work that you guys are doing. If you need anything, let me know. I'm here to help. Now,
Excellent work on completing this tutorial. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to Mr. Connally's Math and Mr. Connally's High School Math channels to get updates on future videos. Thanks for watching.
MrConnally.com